Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I call this PowerPoint refresh slash reset, which is better together. And our topic for this week is burnout. And these are just some questions I have listed just so it's something for you to kind of think about because we live in that space where it's easy to get burned out on things quickly. I know that maybe as a student, you may be burnt out because of finals. I know I am. I'm completely burnt out on papers, essays, and everything this week from being working from home and from being on finals. So these are just some questions I kind of want you just to consider. What do these two words mean to you as a UHG student or employee? And reset and refresh just means to me just the ability, like with a computer, kind of to just to reboot. That's what refresh and reset means to me. Just to kind of the ability to take a step back from everything that you're working so hard on and with, and just refresh and reset for you. But what is burnout? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. And burnout doesn't have to necessarily be from school. Burnout can be from work. Burnout can really be from everyday life. It's just sometimes you fall into doing the same routine over and over again that it causes your body and your mental health just to break down. So that's something to look out for. And if you have any questions or you have any comments, feel free to jump in anytime. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just want to be sure. Okay, awesome. What are the general symptoms of burnout? So you look at demotivation and detachment from your work, and it starts from something very simple, like you're supposed to do an assignment you do every day, but you find reasons like, you know what, I'll get to it later. I'm tired. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'll just deal with it later. You notice that when you first started your job or first started school, you were super excited. Like, let's say you're in your senior year of college and you first started, and you were super excited to be in college, super excited to do the study of your field. Like, take nursing, for example, because I know that there are a lot of nursing students that get burnt out. I'm a social work student. I'm starting to find myself burnt out just because I'm at the very end and I've become like this semester, everything has been just like emotionally draining. Also depleted energy levels, detachment in personal relationships, lower productivity, lower resistance to illness, pessimistic outlook on work or life, physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion, and time away from work. And then we also have a few tips for preventing burnout. Balance your work life with your personal life. And what does that mean? It's important to have boundaries. It's very, very, very important to have boundaries. It's very important to set aside time for yourself. Only because you can't be all work all day. I know that in this generation you hear everyone kind of stress, oh, work all day, work until you can't work no more. And then once you have everything, then you'll relax. That's not the best approach to me, only because you be like I said, you become burnt out so quickly. If everything around you is just work, 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 work. Let's say you have children. I'm a mother and a wife, so I know that if I put too much emphasis on work and school and I neglect home, then everything kind of crumbles around you because you're putting all your focus on one thing and not remembering to balance it out. The next one is taking care of yourself. And I feel like that's very important. If you can't be good to yourself, then there aren't many things that you're going to be good to because you can't kill yourself going to work. Because what happens when you do that? Unfortunately, you kill yourself going to work or kill yourself going to school and they replace you with someone else. And I know it's a really sad thing, the way to look at it, but it's the truth. You have to make sure at all times that you're taken care of, whether it's health, physical, mental, or even just the time to just say, you know what, I'm gonna relax, maybe go to the hair salon, go to the nail salon, catch a movie, or just something like listen to music or reading. You have to make sure that you have that time scheduled in for yourself. The next one is scheduling breaks. That's important too. Even if it's 10 to 15 minutes in a day, you want to make sure that you always take that time out just to have a break. Sometimes you could have a workload of like 8 hours. It would mean a difference if you took two 15-minute breaks. Like maybe you're a person, for example, you're a person that can work straight through like doubles. Like in restaurants, you have people that are like, okay, I got to work at 3 o'clock. I'm not going home till 10 in the afternoon. I'm not taking any breaks. It is so important just to have that time to regroup, just to have that time just to reset and refresh and shut down so you can kind of get back and not be like, oh God, when is my shift over? Or oh God, when do I leave class? When am I finished? Because the more you start looking at it like that, you become more or less passionate about what you're doing. Another tip for preventing burnout is exercise, but the most recommended exercise would be yoga because yoga focuses on your inner being. It allows you to relax. It allows you to put things in more perspective. So this was one of the top exercises that was rounded out, that was recommended by the state board. And the last one is setting boundaries. And setting boundaries kind of goes into balancing your work life with your personal life. You know how, like, let's say you're at work and you've already taken on so many different projects, and someone comes to you like, hey, we were specifically thinking of you. Go ahead and take over and do this project for me. You have to be able to say within yourself, no, you have to know when you've had enough because that's something else that can contribute to burnout. If you're already juggling and having to wear so many hats, and someone offers to put more on your plate, and then next thing you know, you're doing all this and you're worn out, you have to be able to say, like with hours, some people have a set amount of time that they do any work, like let's say from 7 to 3 or after 5, but not at 7, and say, hey, you know what? Between these hours, I'm available. After this time, I'm focused on home and I'll deal with this in the morning. I don't do emails, I don't do phone calls, I don't do social media, etc. Sometimes you have to set those boundaries because if you don't, people will continue to pile and pile and pile and pile things on you. And before you know it, you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. You're not wanting to come to work. You're not wanting to go to school. You're not wanting to deal with things. And then it makes you look as if you're incompetent. That's not it. It's just that you're tired and you're taking on way too much stuff. So those are a few tips for preventing burnout, excuse me. And then I just added some different resources for burnout. For example, the Edith Counseling Group that's on 802 West Alabama Street, Houston, Texas 77006. The Heights Family Counseling Center in Houston, Texas, 2500 Summer Suite, 1220, Houston, Texas 77007. The Student Counseling Services also is another great resource for burnout because there are a lot of coaches that can assist you or talk to you because I honestly didn't know that this was a real thing until we transition into a virtual space and then you figure out exactly how many people are dealing with this. It's not when you mention burnout to some folks, they kind of say, you know what, it's just burnout. You're okay. Get some rest. You'll do it. But burnout is a mental disorder. It can have consequences. It starts off as being something that's being drained. It can affect your health, your stress, your overall being. And you know that in women, especially because we tend to work harder, not saying that men don't, but stress is a number one killer in us because as women, we have to wear so many hats. We have to be mothers, we have to be wives, we have to be financiers, we have to be cooks, we have to be chefs, we have to be students. So we wear a lot of hats as wives, as women. So I felt like it's important to just highlight that look of burnout, especially as it relates to stress. And that was the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for sharing. Did anyone have any questions or any comments?
Yes, I actually had one question.
Uh-huh.
Because I know there's one technique, it's called the podrometer technique. I think that's how
Oh,
you pronounce it.
oh wow. I've never heard that one. No.
And with that one, I know that there's like, they usually have like, there's a certain time that you study, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's a time that it gives you a break. So
Mm-hmm.
would you say that would be a good technique for
I
preventing
definitely,
burnout?
I definitely would. Anything that you can do to take away from having to focus solely on school and work, and you're able to just dedicate the time back into yourself. I definitely think that's a great technique.
Right.
I would
And
even
another
say
question.
running, but running can be kind of stressful too, especially if you're one of those people that are like ultra competitive.
Yeah. Um, One more question I did have was,
Mhm.
would you consider hobbies as a way to like take a break?
Yes, I definitely do. Me personally, I'm a big reader. And that helps me a lot because if I don't, what'll happen is I'll take on so many different things and I'll just be doing things and doing things and doing things and I'll break down quick too. And I noticed that I like to read a lot. So when I take that time and I go get in my little corner or bed or wherever I go choose to read it helps me a lot. And for some people, like my daughter, she likes to paint, and that helps her when she's stressed out. So I feel like definitely if you have a good hobby and it helps you take your mind off things, especially work and school, that would be really beneficial to you.
Right.
Yeah, so I definitely think that's a good one. And thank you for the other suggestion because I actually hadn't heard of it, but that's a really good one.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. That would help. I know for me, having dedicated time for studying and cutting off would help because I'm the kind of person where, especially for class, if I've waited for the last moment, or if I haven't waited for something that I'm real hard on, I'll study for hours and hours and hours and hours so bad that I'm dreaming of statistics or something like that. So that's really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And is there any more questions?
Mm, for me, not that I have. I think those are the two main ones.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for attending this PowerPoint presentation. I know that it was short, but I thank you so much for being so kind enough to listen. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, okay?
Alrighty, you too. Thank you so much for this
You're welcome.
presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.